So here we are at the webinar. You have Marketing Cloud. Now what? What we are going to see is what do you do once you start using Marketing Cloud, and especially the DESelect segment tool, that it's mostly a great tool for segmentation of audience and creations for people that need to do quick segmentations and don't have a huge background on programming queries and SQL. So I am Abraham Alvarez, as you already know, and here with me is Frey from DESelect. I am from Orange, and we're going to be your hosts and guides on this webinar. So please, Frey, if you want to take the first step, intro to DESelect.
Yes. We have just a short forward-looking statement, basically saying make your buying decisions based on what we have, what we present, not on what we don't have yet. All right, DESelect. So we're going to talk about who or what is DESelect, how can it help me, and where do I get it? So DESelect, it's a marketing optimization platform for Salesforce, and particularly for Salesforce Marketing Cloud. We offer benefits like faster execution of campaigns, more engagement with your contact base, as well as better results, ultimately. You already see some of the logos of the customers we serve at the bottom of the slide. If you work in a particular industry and you're interested to know which clients we serve within your industry, you can also go ahead and take a look at our website, where we have user success stories that you can filter on industry or filter on solution. So DESelect marketing optimization platform for Salesforce. That means really that we develop applications, a suite of applications on top of Salesforce Marketing Cloud. If you're not familiar with Salesforce and with the dynamic of their applications or their web store, you can almost imagine Salesforce is like the iOS for companies. It develops a holistic, comprehensive software. It has its own applications, but it also has an app store. It's called the App Exchange, and DESelect is one of the companies that is building applications on that B2B app store of Salesforce. What we offer is we help you take your marketing to the next level by working on the following domains. So you can see them here. It's frequency optimization. We help with segmentation, which obviously benefits personalization efforts. We help with data management, with deduplication, and engagement scoring. A typical problem we see today is that when companies do not invest in optimizing communications, in optimizing, the technology stack for their marketing team, they will eventually start falling behind compared to competitors, because they're spending more to achieve less. Some of the signs that you might be seeing if this is happening to you is you have poor campaign performance, meaning low click-through rate, low open rate, low conversion, maybe even high unsubscribe rates. You might have slow, disorganized campaign execution. And a reason for that might be that building segments, building audiences takes too long. Maybe your marketing team is relying on an internal expert that can write SQL queries, or an internal IT team, or even an external partner. And another sign might be that your communication frequency with your contact base is either too high, which can lead to unsubscribes, or it's too low, which means you actually leave money on the table. You're not optimally engaging your contact base. So what do we offer? DESelect's marketing optimization platform at the moment consists of 3 solutions for Marketing Cloud. It gives users more control, and the solutions are called Segment, Engage, and Search. Segment, our first solution, can help you create high-performing audience segments, target audiences, in minutes, in seconds. Without any SQL, you don't need technical knowledge. It's really drag and drop. It's very intuitive. You can do waterfall segmentation. You can do deduplication. You can limit the amount of contacts coming from 2 or 3 data sets. If you want to do A/B testing, maybe you want to take half the contacts from this table and compare it to half the contacts on the other table. These are things that you can do with Segment. Our Engage solution, separate application, helps you optimize marketing frequency. And the way it does that is by maximizing click-through rate, reducing cost, and prioritizing campaigns across teams. So you can set your own limits of what the maximum number of emails, push notifications, SMS, any type of messaging is for your contacts. That way, when you're really using the automation to its fullest, you can still avoid that in some scenarios a contact might receive 20 emails from you in 1 week. That's probably too much. A contact might then unsubscribe from your communication, and then you basically lose them forever. Because if you don't believe me, ask yourself, when was the last time you unsubscribed from a company and then resubscribe later on? That probably didn't happen. So if you fight hard to get emails, get contacts in your database, it's really important to protect them and not overstimulate them with messages. Just find that right balance between not too much and not too little. That's what Engage does. Our last solution, our third solution, is Search. That really helps you just be very efficient when you work with Marketing Cloud. It's basically a search anything toolbar for Marketing Cloud. If you're familiar with other Salesforce clouds, Sales and Service Cloud have this as well, this search bar at the top. We built it as well for Marketing Cloud, and we offer it for free. So if you already use Marketing Cloud today, I recommend you to install DESelect Search. You find it on the App Exchange. It's for free, and you can benefit from it immediately after the webinar. So ask yourself, are your marketing communications generating at the moment the best possible results possible? The best results possible. And we'll look in a second, more concretely how we're really doing that. So our first solution, I'm just gonna repeat myself a little bit, but I want you to really understand what we offer. Our first solution, Segment, offers no-code audience segmentation. So in Marketing Cloud, if you want to, for example, combine demographic data with behavioral data, at the moment you would require, you would probably need to use SQL code, actual SQL queries. We think for a marketing team, often that's a little bit of a stretch to expect marketing users to really be fluent in SQL. So we've developed a solution where you can use drag and drop to build your audience. Very intuitive, it can be very advanced. It's high performing, so it can filter through millions and millions of records. I think we have one client that uses Segment to filter through 1.2 or 1.7 billion of contact records, just to give you an idea of the scale that we can handle with this solution. The results that we see is more personalization, meaning better results on your marketing KPIs, but also much more efficient working. Typically, we get feedback that the marketing teams are becoming more confident, more familiar with their data in Marketing Cloud, which takes a little bit of getting used to how that is set up. And also it cuts in half the time required to segment and build your campaign audience. So, we offer reduction in time, being able to work more efficiently, as well as better results because you'll be able to personalize your marketing activity much more. Second solution, Engage, and I'll go a little bit more into detail here because Abraham will cover Segment, step by step, some of the features that we offer. So I will focus a little bit more here on Engage, on how that works, so you get a good idea of that as well. So Engage, it's intelligent frequency capping for Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Again, being able to set limits to not engage in too little, not too much, and just find that sweet spot in marketing communication. You avoid unsubscribes, opt-outs, you protect your sender reputation, and you get much more engagement, click-through rate, open rate, etc. Wait, I'll just go back one more step here. How it works specifically is in the first step, which you'll do once, you will set these limits. You will say, for example, I want this group of contacts to never receive more than 2 emails per week from me. Or you might say, all my contacts, I want to make sure they don't get more than 1 newsletter per month or 1 promotional SMS per day. Just a few examples of the limits that you can configure. Once this is done, you can go to our calendar within DESelect Engage. You can plan your campaigns, and then our system is going to give you in advance an indication of how much % of your target audience will actually exceed those limits. And if they exceed the limits, in the third step, our system in Journey Builder will exclude them from the send. So you set your own limits, you plan your campaign, and when you execute it with our custom flow control, our system is going to check at every contact that you want to reach. It's going to evaluate what is the limit that you set, what have they received in the past few days, and what are you trying to send them now. And based on these 3 points of information, our system is going to say, yes, include them in the send, or no, they surpassed the limit, exclude them because otherwise they're at risk of unsubscribing. So that's our second solution, Engage. And then our third solution, again, it's for free, highly recommended. We get great feedback on this. It's called Search. It basically allows you to find anything in seconds in Marketing Cloud, whether it's data extensions, templates, custom activities, all these things you can easily find with DESelect Search. All our solutions are available in the App Exchange. If you're interested in them, I recommend you to first contact Orange, and they will bring us in touch with each other in order to move forward. And you can see then a custom demo for your use case, and then make the decision whether that's interesting for you or not. All right, that was the first introduction of DESelect. So we are a marketing optimization platform on top of Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So you access our solutions within the Marketing Cloud org. We have 3 solutions: Segment for drag and drop segmentation, Engage for optimized frequency engagement based on your own limits, and we have Search, a find anything toolbar for Marketing Cloud, which is for free, and you can download in the App Exchange. Over to you, Abe.
Okay, thank you, Frey. Hi all. So the next part is going to be what's next. Sorry. How can Orange Digital and DESelect work together for you? Okay. There we go. Okay. So I come from Orange Digital CX, and what we do is we execute, manage, and optimize your business unit and all your strategy, so you can get way more from Salesforce Marketing Cloud and you can reach your goals. We have more than 80 certifications. We are the top tier Summit partner. We all have also won 2 Partner Innovation Awards on the last 2 years. We are hopefully going for the third one, this 2024. And we reach across a bunch of different industries: financial service, hotels, sports teams, consumer goods, anything can between. So you get and you acquire this powerful tool like DESelect segmentation, and I'm not just hyping them because I'm using. So I know what you can do, what's the limit, and what are not the limits for them. So your initial urge is going to be jump into Salesforce Marketing Cloud, open the segmentation tool, and start creating audience like drag, drop, and that's it. But you should take a step back, breathe a bit, and then follow a more structured approach so you can ensure success for your business unit. So we're going to see some of the things, tips, strategies, so you can squeeze more out of it. First, you can check your installations and your users. Inside your business unit on the setup section, inside apps install packages, you need to confirm that the tool installed. It should show up as DESelect space segment. Uh-huh. And inside this tool, you should go to the access panel on the top right corner. And inside there, you should see all the users that have access to it. If you have users that should have access and they don't, you have to check them and save it. But take into account that the DESelect segment has a limited number of licenses according to your contract with them. So you should know how many users are you going to have. And you should check going to the DESelect segment. On the bottom right corner, there is a small cogwheel where it will take you to the admin panel. Over there, on the user section of that, you will see all the people that you have checked, and you will see what configuration do they have. Are they registered as administrator only or as active, or maybe they are not even active anymore using the tool, so you can just unselect it. Second step is you should prepare your team and your client team. You should develop a personalized training course for your team and all the members who will be utilizing the tool. This will explain how to use the basic features and even the advanced ones too. But you should make it maybe 1, 2, or even 3 sessions so you can really teach everyone the force that you can use on the select segment. And I invite you to collaborate with Alice at Orange and DESelect so you can ensure you have a comprehensive training. The next step is define your segmentation criteria objectives. You should identify a specific audience that you intend to segment with DESelect segment. For example, high-value customers, contacts not contacted recently, clients residing in specific cities. Maybe with the case of the museum, you need send a list of people that donate high quantities of money. Those are your priority targets, and you can target them specifically. For example, you should collaborate with product owners to identify standard segmentation patterns like we are targeting 20 something to 40 years old with high credit for a specific audience. So you have to understand what are the fields, how are you segmenting them, and if these are repeated patterns, you are going to see that you are going to be looking at patterns every time you create an audience. For example, do they have mail? If they don't, do they have my app installed? If they don't, do I have their phone so I can send them SMS? And you're going to be splitting this in common usage segments. So this is the idea behind segmentations, to identify repeated patterns so you can identify high value audience. Then we are going to tell them with configure that extension, we're going to tell them from where are the data going to come. You need to decide if you are going to allow all the data to be used with segment, or maybe you just need a specific data extensions that will be the source for all the audience, for all the segmentations that you want to do. And the same in the other part is true. It's if you don't want to ever be able to target a data extension, you should mark it as exclusion. So, for example, if you have a source of data, general source of data, then it's going to be selected as my available data extension, but I'm going to exclude it because I never want to target, I never want to write to it or date it in any way. Once you have that installed, you should start configuring easy to pick values for repeatedly used fields. Again,
Sorry, just 1 second on the previous slide.
sure.
This is quite an interesting feature actually, because it allows you to control visibility to data within Marketing Cloud. So we've actually had the feedback from a lot of pharmaceutical clients, and I imagine it would be the same for insurance clients, maybe retailers as well, that this feature offers them basically an option to control visibility to data extensions for the marketing users, for the team. Because if you don't use DESelect with SQL, you could basically access any data extension in the system. Whereas here with DESelect's segment, you could control which data extensions the users that are doing the segmentation, how much they can access. So it's actually a quite valuable feature for pharmaceutical companies, for insurance companies, and for any company that might have some sensitive data within their org. That's it. Just wanted to highlight. Thanks, Abe.
No problem. Thanks to you, Fred. Okay, so what I mean with repeatedly used fields. For example, let's say you have a campaign field and you have a different 5 different campaigns. Instead of having to type each and every time I want this value or this other, you can create these drop-down fields for this specific field on your data extension, and you can select from it very easily on the segmentation part also, and it's really valuable for you. You can implement an auto refresh for this. So if all this data is coming from a data extension, for example, grabbing the pharmaceutical option, let's say you have a city field and you have a data extension naming the cities that you are giving service to. You can auto refresh this drop down selection so that it always have the data from the latest values. You don't have to come here and read it and add it again. You can just auto refresh it and it will always have all the data value from that field in that specific data extension. One second. There we go. Okay, this one is great. Create relationships and sets. What we're going to do is we're going to establish relationships between data extensions and other data tables. Again, on the admin panel on DESelect, on the relations and custom relations sections, you're going to create a new relationship. Here, you select an original data, like, for example, general source of data. And then we're going to establish a cardinality and designate a relationship table. For example, let's say I want to relation this general data with the send data view. The send data view, for those that don't know, it's the data view where Salesforce Marketing Cloud saves all the data about email sent on these last 6 months. So you can know which people receive what mail from what campaign. A lot of data comes from there. So you can say from this custom source, I'm going to take my subscriber key and match it with the subscriber key on the send field. And that's going to be a match that will showcase me every email that this person has received. Okay. Again, this is to create relationships, and it's not only with data views, it's with any data table, data extension, data views, list, wherever you want. It will show here, and you can relate it. You can select the fields that are going to be related. There can also be more than one relation. For example, subscriber key and campaign with another data table that also has a subscriber key and campaign. I can relate this. Now, once you have the relationship, we're going to go to the data set. Here is one of those time-saving tips that is really helpful for you. You select the data extension, the first data extension that you want to put on your set, for example, the same general source of data that I was talking about. And then you on the plus button add another data extension for this set. Again, this example is using send, but you should be using your own. You can be using another data table, another data extension, and a data view, wherever. And once it's created, you have a set. And these data sets, once you have a segmentation, for example, if you have several audiences that come from this source of truth, and they are also a match with sent in this example or any other one, you can just drag and drop the whole set, and it will get as a data, it will get inside the segmentation as a data source with the joins that you are selected. So for example, if you selected an inner join, it will come with an inner join. If you select a left join, it will come like this. You can use different segmentations, different data sets, and mix and match them. You can drag several of them to the data source part. And again, you are going to see it inside your segmentation on the right side of the data source panel as data sets. Like here, you can see it on the bottom. On the right side, once selected, you can see what time of join is it, like inner join, like in this example. Then you should configure filter sets. Filter sets are a godsend for marketing teams that have several feeds with a lot of values on them, or maybe even combos of that. So if you think my client has 10 different fields, and in these fields, we have a mix and match of 100 different values, and that's one case that we already have. This is what you're going to use. You will be using this configuration filter set again on the admin panel on the filter set section, and you will select that extension that you want to target, select a name, maybe add a description. Then once you select it, you should click on the edit select filters, and it will show you the same kind of window that you normally use on the regular segmentation, where you can drag and drop the fields of the origin data extension, and you can select any of the qualifications, like contains one of, equals, between, smaller or bigger than, etc. Right? And you can input values here. For example, here we have one of the cases that I told you. Etiqueta de consumo uno will be translated that usually consumer practice of this subscriber, and it contains one of beer, malt, or wines. And they may have 10, 11, and 100 different values. It doesn't matter, because once you do one, you can save it. And let's say I can save this because I selected this, and then I also say via previous data analysis that mostly I want to contact people that have email, and also want to contact active people. So this will go with this field is day without transaction, and it should be smaller than or equal to 30. Once I have all the fields that I want for this filter set, I save it, and on my segmentation, I will be able to see it on the bottom left corner. Just when you select a data extension that has a filter set associated with them. You can also add behavioral filters for things like checking the number of times people have opened a mail, or click on it, or the last number of days that they have opened. You can use all the data views, including the hidden ones, like the push demographic, to power your queries and your segmentation. And last but not least, you should keep learning and experimenting. These are just some of the activities and practice we use with the client when we set up the DESelect segment environment. These are to make your environment as powerful as can be, so you can start using really great audience and segmentation, so you can reach more of your clients, get better engagement. And remember, you can create different tools. A couple of examples here for the guy that was using server-side JavaScript and Appian automatizations. We are using it right now for one client to automate a reports for the client to all the behavioral values, a specific grouping by journey. So you can have by email the open, send, click, bounce on subs, by ESMS the different values, and then report it all by journey grouped. Or you could report it by activity mail and maybe see which of the mails that I sent got my biggest unsubscribe. Why? What did I do wrong so we can avoid it on the next time? The tool is really mostly limited by what you want to do with it. So now we're going to open the floor for questions. And after that, I will just give you a really quick rundown of how does it look on the tool itself instead of only screenshots. So let's open the floor for questions.
Yeah, we have an anonymous attendee. Is DESelect engine hosted in Marketing Cloud? Does DESelect have a time cap per activity? In Automation Studio, we do have a time cap of 30 minutes for a SQL activity if DESelect engine is hosted. How do you avoid these timeouts? Okay, great questions. So yes, we are on top of Marketing Cloud. We do work with an external server for calculations in case that needs to happen. But how we avoid session timeouts is we have something called waterfall segmentation. So first of all, we have our customer success team that can look at your data model and give some advice on how to avoid it. For example, by creating master data extensions that combine multiple data extensions already in one big table. And then by using waterfall segmentation, you basically sequence your filters. And by doing that, you can avoid session timeouts. So I mentioned we have a client over 1 billion contact records. They use DESelect with master data extensions and waterfall segmentation to go to filter billions of records. So there's no worries for time cap activities. We are, we know how to handle those issues. So in that sense, it does perform slightly better than Automation Studio, because with SQL automations, it's difficult to avoid this. And by the way, I'll also type later an article from our support portal more on waterfall segmentation. So you have some screenshots to see how that looks like. Next question is Orlando. How does DESelect work? Does it leverage relationships established in Data Designer or Audience Builder? So basically there's 3 steps in DESelect. Step 1 is you select your data extensions, and you can choose your standard data extension. So all the tables in your contact builder that have data, they can be shared data extension in case they're coming from another business unit. They can be synchronized data extensions in case it's coming from Salesforce CRM. And you can even access data views. So step 1 is you select all the tables where you want to create your audience from. Maybe there's some demographic data, maybe there's some behavioral data like order data, maybe you want to add in some opens and clicks from previous emails, so you would pull in a data view. And then you define the relationship, so the type of join, how do they, for example, all the contacts that have ordered, meaning your contact data needs to match the order data. It sounds complicated, but in DESelect it's very intuitive. So you define the relationship as part of the step.
Okay. Alma Arteaga is asking, is DESelect an alternative to Query Studio? Okay, Alma. They are doing different stuff, but to be honest, I really like more DESelect segment. Why? When you create an audience with Query Studio, you have to first you have to target the specific SQL query, right? Then there are a couple of things that are not supported on Query Studio, and the last thing is Query Studio drops a table that it's every field is a text field. You really are not able to use it because everything comes converted to text. So if you want to use that, you have to transfer all the fields and do another query to transform it to that specific field type. While DESelect has this great tool that really speeds your output, where you create your segmentation, your source, your filters. The next step is your target. And it's really, really fast because you just select where do you want your data extension to be, if it's sendable or not. And then from the fields that are in your different sources, you select what fields do you want to bring. And then you just click save and you can run a preview that will give you the volumetric response, the number of people that match your segmentation, or you can just run it and it will fill that extension that you just created with the correct data from your segmentation. So to be honest, Query Studio feels very limited as a developer when you want to use it on the next step. Like, okay, I know what my query brought. Now I want to explode that data. You cannot really do it with Query Studio. You have to go back and create an automation, create an activity of query, then create the data extension, and then just run the automation. While on DESelect, you really skip all this jump from different sections, and all is done under DESelect segment. Hope that answers that one. Frey, do you want to take the one about the pricing model?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Orlando. So on the website, you can already, actually, let me see if I have it open. Yes, here we go. So on the website, we have a pricing tab where you can see for segment our pricing. It's a starting price. If you want to know which edition you would need, you can just click on compare plans. It scrolls down a little bit, and then you see per edition, we have 3 editions, all the features it has or does not have. And then if you hover over the little information bubble, it explains you what we mean with this feature. So this is going to give you a very good starting price of our solution. Of course, that's not taking into account any commercial gesture like discount or things like that. So it's just to give you an idea. I can also, of course, change it to USD. There we go. And so this is going to give you a very first idea of more or less the cost. It does go, so this for segment, it is per 5, it includes 5 users. If you require more users, the price will slightly go up. And so we have this pricing available here for segment, but if you would also be interested in Engage, we have only 1 edition, and the pricing is also again on the website. Similar on the website to answer the question of, I think it was the anonymous attendee on our support portal all the way at the bottom. If you look for waterfall segmentation, you'll find also tons of materials, screens, etc. And as well on the website, if you go to just the solution page itself, you can actually see quite a few screens of how it works. Some of the things that Abraham showed today, you will see with a lot of explanation. So the website already contains a lot of valuable information. So I would definitely recommend you to take a look there.
Okay, so for example, let's show first the data extension that I'm going to use as my source of data, right? It's really simple, an account ID, a couple of numbers of cards, first name, last name, email, phone number, locate, age, plaza should be similar to city. They register different business units, profiles, different flags, and consumer etiquette 1 to 10, and days without transactions. Different fake info here, okay? So now I'm going to here, and here's what you do. So the first thing we were talking about is really quick on setup. You should see our apps on installed package. You will be able to see your segment and see all the people that should be selected. The second step, again, here it's going to the admin, check them, see who has powers of administrator or not. Here we can see the peak links. For example, this one is created for the country listing, where it already has different values, can have separate labels and values, and you can turn them on and off. And you can also select an auto refresh so it grabs them from a specific data extension. Then you can see the custom relations and the sets. For example, here it is.
Maybe just for the audience, so what Abraham is showing now is the backend, the settings tab of DESelect, where basically Orange can, do different things, set up pick lists, set up custom relations, set up data sets, filter sets, all to make sure that you're set up for maximum success with DESelect. It's basically building little shortcuts, little things that make it easier for you to avoid mistakes, to segment even faster with DESelect. So this is not something that you would necessarily be working in too much in the administration, in the settings panel. You would probably be more, working with those 3 steps that you saw in the beginning when you're building your audience.
Yeah, mostly this is for the setting up of your environment to use it once you have it. As I told you, you select a source, a cardinality, a relation with another data extension or data view, like in this case, and set it up, and you can check it here. For example, on this, you can relate it as a set. It's from the same source, and you can select how does it match. Like, for example, here, it's an inner join. Then we're going to see filter sets. Filter sets are what I really think is the best thing for the marketing team. For example, here I can set up different ones, sections or segmentations that are repeatedly several times. And you can select, for example, profile or for channel communication. To really, the number of filters that you want to do is as granular as you want it to be, and it can be really, really, really deep. For example, here I'm just targeting consumer tax, right? And it says if he buys beer as a group, beer as individual, chips, wherever, right? And it will go to all 10 tags, any of those that has any of these values. Here it really jumps in this case.
And I'll again repeat pick list. It's imagine, for example, a field like, I think Abraham said country, but for example, gender. Gender is a good example because in the database, gender might be defined as MF. It might be defined as male, female. It might be defined as 1, 2 in the data itself. In order to avoid that your marketeers have to go look at the data table and look at what are the values when they segment, because, for example, if you want to filter on all the females, you would have to say something like, gender field equals, and then type female or type F or type 1, if that's the value in the database. By using pick lists, your users will able to see the pick list values instead of having to type it manually. And so this is one of the ways that you can avoid mistakes, and it just makes it easier to use segmentation with DESelect. And so what is showing now is we are out of the settings, out of the admin tab, and we are creating together a audience, a selection. That's how we call it in DESelect, a selection of filtered audience. So the first step is at what you can see at the top, selection criteria, and we're first gonna find all the data tables that we want to include, that we want to filter in. So the first thing is he searches, and again, you can search and find any standard shared synchronized data extensions. Now Abraham is showing a data view, so he can access the sent data view, is renaming it to make it a bit easier to understand. He's now defining the relationship. So account ID is going to match subscriber key, and it's an inner join because it's matching values. So all the contacts in DBB that also have a record in ST, in sent, that have received a sent email and have a certain journey activity, as we see now. That's the data set that we start from. And then the next step is we're going to define filters for that data. So now from all those tables that he has selected, he can see all the filters available, either the predefined filter sets, or you create the filters on the spot now.
For example, here you can use the select one, or as Frey said, just create one, or even modify this one. Let's say I want to grab a bigger share. Here, this one is the one that really saves you a lot of time. For example, in this case, we're going to filter by any consumer that buys any beer-related product that has do a transaction on between today and the last 40 days, and that it has a valid email. Once we have it, we can just go to target definition. We can create.
So here we're going to define in my audience, my target audience that I'm going to create, that's going to be stored obviously in a different table, in a new table, or you can use an existing one if you already created it. We're going to now define which fields am I going to need in that table. Maybe you want first name because you want to be able to address them in the email with first name. Maybe you want historic order data. So all the fields from your tables in step 1, you can access, and you can add to your new audience that you're creating, so that information is going to be available there. So that's what Abe's doing. You also see below that something called custom values. This is where you can do calculations, formulas, again, to help you with personalization. For example, a very common thing is that, let's say you want to filter on previous order data. They bought beer over the beer category, and you want to, in the email, summarize in the last 40 days you have spent X many pesos on beers. You want to just calculate how much in the last 40 days have they spent with us, and you want to show that number in the email, for example. You would use a custom value to do that. You would add that custom value to the target data extension, and then it's available for you to use in the email, for example.
Okay. This data extension, this business unit is just a demo, so it doesn't really have a lot of sense. So I'm going to just remove these changes because it will bring an empty table, and we don't want that. I'm just going to bring the data from here, just so you guys can see it working. Here, you also have to have a subscriber key relation. Then you create the data. And as we were telling before, you run the preview and it will give you the info, or you can just run it. Right now, we're going to run the preview. And I'm going to show you the things that we did very quickly with just drag and drop and very small changes. I'm going to show you how it will look the same thing, but in a query studio, and how much it will take for me to write it. First, I will need to grab all the fields that I wanted that were added with just one click on DESelect. It's all these fields. Then things like profile, days of transaction, I had it like this. Then imagine having to type not these 3 only, but 10 or maybe 15 different values for every consumatic, and repeat it for all 10 or 15 of them. It's really, really, how do I say, bothersome, and it takes a lot of time out of you. While you're doing this on DESelect, after getting to the processing step, you can also here see a preview of the query that is running behind the scenes. And you can see if everything looks good for you, you can double check. And then it will just continue processing in a minute. It will give us the numbers. Because we have a small data selection here, it will only bring a couple of people and that's it. There we go.
And so maybe Abraham, maybe some people might wonder, why are you running this preview and why are you not just immediately running it? So one of the benefits here is that you can see it before it populates in this new table structure that you created in step 2. So in step 2, you create your, all the fields you want in this table in your new audience. And then in the preview, you actually see a few things. You see the total number of records. In this case, it's 4 records. Maybe that's too low. So you would go back to step 1, adapt your filters, run the preview again, and see how much you have now. And maybe yeah, exactly. And so if you're happy with this, you run the preview again, see if it's now better. And that way you avoided that it already populates your target data extension, your table that you just created, a new table. You avoid that it already populates and then now you would have to overwrite and things like that. So by just using the preview, you can see the number of records in advance. You can see the first up to 20 records so that you even see the data that would go in the table. You can see all of that without populating your target data extension. Yeah. And then the last thing that you see that is valuable is on the top left, view SQL query. So that is basically what DESelect has built in the background. So if you're very familiar with SQL and you kind of want to do a check, you can always consult the query that has been built in the background.
Also, a case use that we normally have is the marketer team wants to know which are the whole volume of audience that we can reach. And after that, they tell us, hey, you know what? We only want 100,000 people. So you can just grab here, select the percentage or the number, and let's say we have 200,000 people. So it will only bring 200,000 from the source target to your data target. You can also mix and match different data sources. For example, let's say we have this for mail. So I'm going to put it here like email. And we can create another one from even a different that extension, but it will be for push. And let's grab this just for example. And then you can select here and limit the different sources with different values via percentage or number. So you can just mix and match the numbers you really want to bring to the data table. And all of this, it's because on preview, okay, it won't let me because I'm moving stuff here right now. Let me, on the preview, you can see the volume that you will receive before really committing to have the data.
I think if you forget everything about the webinar, remember DESelect segment, drag and drop segmentation using 3 steps. Step 1, you define the data sources you're going to use, the filter that you're going to apply, all with drag and drop. There's a few things that partners like Orange can do to really boost that for you. You know, have a great setup that you save some more time, you avoid more mistakes with pick lists, data sets, filter sets. So that's step 1. Step 2, you define the structure of your target audience. Which fields are you going to need? Do you want to add any custom calculation? Do you want to do any source limiting like Abraham just shown? Do you want to deduplicate any of that data in your target audience? And then step 3 is you run a preview, you see what the result is going to be before it actually starts filling that table structure you created in step 2. That way you can always go back, adapt, preview again, adapt again, preview again, etc. until you're happy with it. And once you are, you have the option to save it so that you can run it at a later time. You can run it, which means it's going to populate that data structure. You can schedule it to run either once in the future or, you know, every hour, every day, every week. Or you can create a template out of it, meaning another team might use the same selection or audience that you just created and just adapt, you know, make a small change to the filter. Again, makes it easier, makes it faster, and makes you avoid mistakes.
I think I messed it up with adding the different sources there.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I think it's clear. I see still no questions coming in, Abraham, so I think we can slowly round up the webinar.
Okay, well, thank you so much for everyone to come. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. And hopefully you get any ideas. It's really good for your business unit and for your clients. Okay, well, thank you again so much. Thank you, Frey.
Thank you, Abraham. Thanks, Luis, and thanks, Orange, for organizing this webinar. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.